Some horror games try to scare you with monsters and cheap jump scares, but what you're about to see isn't that kind of horror, so maybe don't watch this late at night. These games don't just scare you, they play with your head. Let's begin. The Mortuary Assistant hits differently from most psychological horror games. Instead of running or fighting, you're just doing a night job at a morgue. You're preparing bodies, following real procedures, and trying to stay calm while working alone. At first, it feels quiet and routine, almost boring in a creepy way. Then, small things start to feel off. A body moves when it shouldn't, lights flicker, sounds don't make sense. The game messes with your head because it never tells you when something bad is about to happen. Horror shows up in the middle of normal tasks, which makes you question everything you see. You're juggling real mortuary work while also trying to figure out which body is possessed and what ritual you need to stop it. Events are randomized, so you can't memorize scares or feel safe on repeat playthroughs.
I suffer no body, pathetic corpse. Look at me!
HELLSEED is one of those psychological horror games that slowly gets under your skin the more you play. You step into the shoes of a detective in 1980s Italy, investigating the disappearance of a doctor tied to a psychiatric hospital. Unlike horror games that throw constant monsters at you, HELLSEED keeps tension by mixing puzzles, exploration, and unpredictable encounters. As you search abandoned houses and shadowy halls, you'll find documents, clues, and weird artifacts that slowly piece together a disturbing story. Paying attention to your surroundings is key because the supernatural doesn't always reveal itself the same way twice. The gameplay feels like a blend of detective work and survival. You'll solve puzzles to unlock new areas, manage inventory, and sometimes run or hide from dark presences that show up without warning.
Oh, shit. What the?
Blair Witch is one of those horror games worth checking out if you're into deep atmosphere and storytelling. It's set in 1996 Black Hills Forest, where a young boy goes missing and you're part of the search, exploring haunted woods filled with creepy visuals and strange events. The game actually takes place after the original The Blair Witch Project movie, but builds its own eerie, horror-focused story. One of the most unique parts of the game is your dog. You can call, pet, and have him help track items or warn you when danger's close. The bond you build with dog affects how the story unfolds, and that little emotional thread makes a big difference when things start getting weird. You'll also solve puzzles, navigate twisting paths, and deal with odd forest distortions that change your perception and make the environment feel unpredictable. The fear here comes more from not knowing what's real and less from constant jump scares. MADiSON is the kind of horror game that makes you feel uncomfortable almost right away. The story follows a guy named Luca, who gets pulled into a messed up situation involving a dark ritual that started years ago. Your main tool is an old camera, and it's way more important than it sounds. You use it to find hidden clues, solve puzzles, and sometimes protect yourself. Taking photos and watching the images develop feels tense, especially when you don't know what might show up in them. The house you explore doesn't stay the same. Rooms change, lights flicker, and strange things happen without warning. Sometimes nothing happens for a while, and then something really bad hits out of nowhere. That unpredictability keeps you on edge the whole time. If you like psychological horror that slowly messes with your head, this one is definitely worth playing.
Most noteworthy was Miss Hell's precious instant camera, which has finally found a new owner. Which has finally found a new owner. Which has finally found a new owner. Which has finally found a new owner.
Martha is Dead is a game that sticks with you long after you're done playing. Not because it's full of non-stop scares, but because it messes with your head in a really deliberate way. It's set in 1944 Tuscany during World War II, where you follow Julia, a young woman trying to uncover the truth behind her twin sister's death while dealing with intense trauma. The game plays out in first person as you explore haunting environments, examine clues, and solve puzzles while the line between reality and hallucination blurs. A big part of the psychological impact comes from how the narrative unfolds. You're piecing together a dark mystery that touches on grief, identity, and the effects of war, and a lot of the unsettling moments come from internal conflict and symbolic scenes rather than traditional horror set pieces.
Who would often stroll by a lake. But one day, in a fit of jealousy, the man drowned the young woman. Too much love brought death.
How can love also be so bad?
This is something you will learn with age, Poppet. The man confessed, so he was hanged in the middle of the very same lake where he had killed his beloved. Since then, the spirit of the girl, known as the White Lady, wanders restlessly in search of relief from her eternal suffering. Only the life of another young woman can give the lady a moment of peace.
Voracious in hunger. The entity. A realm so close to ours, but always out of reach. Until I found him. Frank Stone. My key. My killer. I am Augustine Lieber.
All distracted.
And I'm about to change our worlds. Forever.
The casting of Frank Stone brings a pretty different vibe to psychological horror than most titles on this list. Instead of straight survival horror, it's more like a cinematic, choice-driven story built around unraveling a mystery in a town twisted by violence and unexplained events. The gameplay feels a lot like other Supermassive Games titles, where your choices actually shape how the story plays out. You're not just watching a movie, you're in it, making decisions, solving small puzzles, and handling quick-time events as danger rises and relationships shift. One really cool feature is the cutting room floor, which basically unlocks a branching map of all the different paths the story can go. It lets you revisit key decision points without starting a whole new game, so you can see how small changes affect the ending, and there are a lot of possible outcomes to discover. The Bridge Curse 2 is a horror game that really mixes campus ghost stories with survival tension in a way that keeps you guessing. It's set at Wen University, a Taiwanese campus famous for eerie legends, where a group of students and a reporter accidentally turn a ghost hunt into something way more real and terrifying. This one is all about escaping, surviving, and uncovering the truth. You play from a first-person perspective, controlling 4 different characters as you sneak through winding hallways, collect clues, and solve puzzles that reveal the school's dark history. What makes it stand out is how it blends stealth with fear of the unknown. Ghosts aren't just jump scares, they stalk you, chase you, and punish mistakes. You'll hide, distract them with items, or use light strategically while trying to keep calm in tight spaces.
So the mad ballerina is real.
He used dark geomancy to haunt the Clavin building. It's the military instructor.
Still Wakes the Deep is the kind of horror game that grabs your curiosity from the first moment and doesn't let go. You're an electrician named Kaz, stuck on an oil rig in the freezing North Sea after something unknown and terrifying shows up on board. The rig's cut off from the outside world, and you have no way out. The fear here isn't about monsters jumping at you every minute. It's about claustrophobia, isolation, and helplessness. Being stuck on a massive metal structure in the middle of the ocean as something unknown hunts you. The oil rig evolves over the course of the game, so areas change and the environment keeps you guessing. Still Wakes the Deep is also one of those games that keeps you thinking about your choices. Do you look for another route? Do you help someone and risk slowing down? That blend of tension, atmosphere, and dread makes it a must-play.
This is an evacuation order.
God, how am I going to get out of here?
We never will, Mary.
No! Bob, there's something in here.
Alan Wake 2 is one of those horror games you have to experience if you love storytelling mixed with survival tension. It drops you into two intertwining narratives. One as horror novelist Alan Wake, trapped for years in a nightmare dimension, and another as FBI agent Saga Anderson, investigating ritualistic murders in a small town. Instead of fast action, Alan Wake 2 leans hard into survival horror mechanics. You're exploring eerie forests, fog-covered towns, and abandoned buildings while managing limited resources like flashlight batteries and ammo. Light isn't just ambiance. You use it to weaken enemies before you can fight them, which makes every encounter a tactical decision instead of a firefight. Enemies aren't always what they seem, environments can warp unexpectedly, and the story constantly shifts in tone and clarity.
Desperately trying to find the manuscript of a novel he has forgotten he's written.
Did you write these pages, Mr. Wake?
I'm trying to remember it.
You're the killer, the cult leader.
No! You've got the wrong man! It's my fault! It got out!
Wake has a double. Where is he now?
I don't want to be in the story, just write me out of the story!
Sleep Awake leans fully into psychological horror by building its entire world around one terrifying idea. Falling asleep can get you killed. In this setting, people vanish the moment they lose consciousness, and what's left of society is slowly breaking down because no one can rest anymore. You move through ruined city areas, abandoned buildings, and strange spaces while trying to avoid cult-like enemies and unsettling encounters. There's a heavy emphasis on atmosphere and visual distortion, with environments that can suddenly feel dreamlike or completely unreal, making it hard to trust what you're seeing. You're not just afraid of enemies, but of losing control or missing something important while the world keeps changing around you. For players who enjoy psychological horror that feels strange and unsettling from start to finish, this is a game worth paying.
This is all perfectly natural.
I am awake! Resisting the inevitable comes at a cost.
Give me your idea.
Oh my god! I told you, everything you do has consequences. And you think that these poor people are getting what they deserve? Now what gives you the right to play God? Why are you doing this? Maybe you don't like them as much as you pretend to.
I don't know! Don't think you idiot!
Stop it! If we can't get along for 10 minutes, and maybe we need a little bit of a break, right?
Until Dawn plays out like a slasher movie where you're the one making all the bad decisions. A group of friends return to a remote mountain lodge 1 year after a tragedy, thinking it's just going to be an awkward reunion. It doesn't take long before things start going very wrong, and the night turns into a fight to survive. The gameplay is built around choices. Conversations, small actions, and quick reactions all matter, and the game remembers everything. One mistake can completely change how the story unfolds, or who makes it through the night. That constant pressure makes even simple decisions feel stressful. What makes Until Dawn work as horror is how personal it gets. You spend time getting to know the characters, so when danger shows up, it actually hits harder. The game also loves to mess with your expectations, setting things up one way and then pulling the rug out from under you. Outlast 2 doesn't scare you by jump scares, it scares you by breaking you down. You're dropped into a remote religious settlement after a helicopter crash, and from that point on, the game feels like a non-stop chaos. People scream about sin, chase you through fields and barns, and genuinely believe you're part of the something. What makes Outlast 2 different from most horror games is how exhausting it feels. You're always running, crawling, hiding, or gasping for breath. If you're seen, your only options are panic and instinct. The night vision camera becomes your lifeline, but even that works against you when the battery starts dying. The horror really kicks in through the story and imagery. The game constantly jumps between reality and disturbing hallucinations tied to guilt, religion, and trauma. You're never fully sure what's actually happening, and the game doesn't stop to explain it. It just keeps pushing forward.
Hey, the outsider!
The Devil in Me brings a true crime twist to psychological horror that's pretty different from most survival horror games. The setup feels almost like a horror movie. A documentary film crew gets invited to a replica of infamous murder hotel to shoot their season finale, only to discover that somebody else has plans for them that are way more deadly than ratings. The game plays more like an interactive thriller where your choices actually shape the story. You control 5 different characters, and every decision you make, from dialogue responses to how you handle traps and puzzles, can change who lives and who doesn't. It mixes exploration with QuickTime events, inventory use, and light puzzle solving, so you're constantly juggling decisions under pressure. If you like horror that feels like a dark, interactive film with real consequences based on your choices, this one's worth playing more than once.
Guys, is that you?
There's a ton of killer footage to be had here.
My time is at a premium. We need to do this today.
What the f is this?
Oh my god.
Are you shooting any of this? No one is going to believe it without proof.
Wait, no!
What the?
Someone, please!
What happened?
What the?
Go!
What is this?
It's a fucking booby trap.
Karma: The Dark World sits in that sweet spot where story and creepy atmosphere become the real horror. Set in a dystopian East Germany controlled by a mysterious corporation, you play as Daniel McGovern, an elite agent whose job is to investigate suspects by diving into their memories. but things get way stranger and more personal the deeper you go. Most of the game is first-person exploration and investigation, where you're retracing memories, solving puzzles, and watching reality twist around you. The environments change unpredictably, so the way a location looked 5 minutes ago might not make sense anymore. The psychological side really shows when the story digs into themes of identity, control, and memory. You're not just trying to survive, you're questioning what's real, what's someone's memory, and what's your own fractured sense of self. Those layers make you think long after you stop playing, which is exactly what great psychological horror should do.
What happened to me? Am I?
Visage is one of those games that twists normal expectations into something deeply unsettling. You explore a huge, empty house where multiple tragedies have taken place. Each room, each hallway, and each old toy tells a darker part of the story. Visage is all about survival through exploration and atmosphere. You're mostly walking, opening doors, picking up items, and trying to piece together faded memories while a persistent sense of dread hangs over everything. Limited light sources, like flashlights or lighters, make even familiar rooms feel threatening after a few minutes in the dark. The game plays with your expectations and your own fear response. Things don't always happen where you expect them, and sometimes nothing happens at all, and that's what makes moments hit harder. The quiet can be just as disturbing as the loud, and the game knows exactly how to use silence against you.